Hi, and welcome back to Beyond the Label, the series dedicated to discussing all things, well, beyond the label. My name is Chris Orr, and I'm the Global Director of Sales Engineering at Siegel Scientific, the makers of BarTender software. Now, in our introductory episode, we were celebrating National Barcode Day, which marked the 50th anniversary of the first scan of a barcode in a retail setting. What we barely touched on in that episode, it was the meaning of those bars or what the numbers at the bottom signify. So today, we will continue to go down the rabbit hole and dive deeper into the elements of a barcode. To start, we need to jump into our time machine and go back to those early days of the development of the barcode. Here is Norman Joseph Woodland, whom, if you recall, had the idea for the first barcode. Unfortunately, his idea, as you can see here, was for a circular pattern that he believed was essential so it could be read from any direction. Additionally, he was limited by 1950s technology, so the concept was largely shelved. No pun intended. Decades later, grocery stores, manufacturers, and other industry leaders were still trying to get a better handle on the inefficiency of item pricing and inventory management, and came together to form the Ad Hoc Committee on a Uniform Grocery Product Code. Boy, there's a mouthful for you. Their charter was to find a way to use barcode technology and the still nascent laser to better improve on these issues. It was this committee that made the decision to adopt barcode technology as the basis for their future standard. The standard would be physically represented by a 12-digit code called the UPC, or Universal Product Code. This code would act as a link to a database of records that would contain information about the product, like description and price, etc. The committee had to decide on whether to adopt Woodland's original bullseye circular barcode or Lauer's vertical barcode, amongst others. Ironically enough, Woodland by this time was working for IBM and himself promoted Lauer's design over his. Spoiler alert, they chose IBM's Lauer-designed barcode. Since then, hundreds of barcode types, many of which can contain way more information than the original 12-digit UPC, but those are a discussion for another day. Today, our focus is on the simple but ubiquitous code that we see on millions of products people around the world buy today, and act as the bridge between the physical world and the digital. Now that the history of the UPC and barcodes are out of the way, let's get even more nerdy if that's possible. First, let us address the physical aspect of the barcode. There are two major components of a UPC barcode and one optional. First are the guard bars. These are the longer lines at the beginning, middle, and end of a barcode. This is what tells the scanner where the barcode begins and where it ends. The second is the product code, the lines in between the guard bars. The thickness and spacing between the lines can be translated by the scanner into binary. The lines are ones and the spaces are zeros, with the thickness of a line indicating multiple ones and the distances in spaces respectively representing multiple zeros. How is that for nerdy? The third component is the human readable numbers at the bottom, which can be used to manually key in a code in the event that the barcode is damaged and unreadable. Here in the US, starting from the 0, there are 12 digits as defined by the Ad Hoc Committee. To complicate things even further, the UPC committee thought originally that the code would probably only be used in the US. In Europe and the rest of the world, they liked the idea well enough, but they wanted to expand on it further, and included the country of origin. And if you count these numbers, you will see that there are 13 digits. It is called the European Article Number, or EAN, whereas in the US you might see a 0 as the leading first digit. Are you confused yet? Don't worry. At the end of the day, whether there are 12 digits or 13, whether or not the code starts with a 0 or some other number, all of it means something to some database somewhere, which takes us to the next question. What do the numbers mean? Well, first of all, we have to talk about the organization, which, until this very moment, you probably never knew existed, but underpins the crucial supply chain infrastructure that civilization as we know it depends on, and manages it all. Global Standards 1, or GS1 for short. This was the result of a merger between the Universal Product Council, the descendant of the Ad Hoc Committee, that developed the UPC and the EAN committee. This is a non-profit organization that maintains the key components of the barcode, which, by the way, they renamed the GTIN, or Global Trade Identifier. The first set of numbers is the manufacturer's code. Companies pay to have a unique code assigned to them to ensure that their barcodes do not overlap anyone else's codes. The manufacturer code can be between 6 to 10 numbers in length. If a company has a lot of products, that they will need to have a shorter code to ensure that they can stay within the 12 or 13 digit limit. The next set of numbers is the product code itself, which can be between then 2 and 6 numbers in length. So, if you wanted to take my favorite brand, for example, I've got my Mountain Dew here, and it's got the UPC code on here. And what you can read off here is 01200183393. Now, there are a number of places where you can actually take that number and search for the GTIN for pretty much any product that you find a barcode on. A search on this one, www.barcodelookup.com, gives us this, which for some reason also includes a ceramic duck mold along with the can of Baja Blast Mountain Dew. By the way, this is not sponsored. Alternatively, you can use go-upc.com, which limits the image and information to just the stuff pertinent to Mountain Dew Baja Blast and does not involve any kind of duck. Finally, the official GS1 lookup code is here, and I'm not going to read off this long string. You can take a screenshot and go to it yourself. Do the search, and at this point you see that 12000 is the company code for Pepsi. That means that 18339 then is the product code for Mountain Dew Baja Blast. The leading 0, by the way, again indicates that it is a US-based UPC code, and any other number would indicate an EAN code and country of origin. The last number is a check digit calculated by the matrix to ensure that it is all correct. Now, nothing in those numbers would translate to those facts, but deep in the bowels of assorted databases, that string of numbers is unique to that product, as is the combination of manufacturer codes and product codes for millions of products around the world. That data, you can see, is stored not only in the grocery store database, but in various global databases like GS1. In this diagram, you can see how once an item is registered with GS1, it will get manufactured and shipped to the retail store. The store will then scan that item into their inventory database, priced, and put on a shelf where it is now available for you to buy. When you scan it at the self-checkout, that barcode is checked against the inventory database, and two things will happen. First, it will display the price on the screen in front of you, and when you pay, that item will be removed from the inventory. From there, all sorts of interesting things will happen with that data, which may be a whole episode in and of itself. But at the end of the day, the store knows how many items and what kind of items were sold that day, which will allow them to reorder appropriately. And you, dear audience, were able to quickly and efficiently purchase an item with minimal human interaction. Some of us appreciate that. I know more than a few people that don't, but either way, none of that would be possible without these simple barcodes. So there you have it, my future Cliff Clavens. The next time anyone mentions or asks about the numbers on a barcode, you will have a bit of trivia that you can drop the next time you want to impress your friends and strike fear into your enemies. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Beyond the Label. If you have any sort of questions or comments, please feel free to drop them down below. Of course, you can let us know if there's any other particular topics you'd like to do some research on. Upcoming episodes are going to be talking about things like QR codes or security around QR codes. We talked about how potentially they could be a threat vector, for example, for attackers. And with all of the stuff around CrowdStrike, this might be an interesting time to kind of start researching those sorts of topics. So thank you very much again. Give us a like, a comment, and a share, and I will see you the next time.